sorry about that. My internet's rubbish.
No worries.
I don't know whether storm's happening, whether that's affecting it or what, but yeah. So sorry. So Kath, I'm Kath, half of Anetto Properties with Jim, my husband. So we've been developing in the sort of Cheshire area for the last sort of two and a half years. Previous to that, my background's kind of marketing. Jim was a kind of ski bum for about 10 years when he was younger. He left the army, became a ski instructor. Then he got into running bars and restaurants and property over, this was in Andorra. And we met there, and then I ended up living in France with him for a number of years, and we kind of did a bit of the escape to the chateau type of lifestyle. And then we sold up and moved back to the UK in 2017, and then started kind of building up our own portfolio. So we've basically been kind of doing a lot of stuff which mainly has been, I'd say, probably commercial to residential, and buying units that we can add on to, add value to, that sort of thing. So we've got a number of properties in the Cheshire area, Macclesfield, Northwich, that sort of thing. So yeah, so, and then we stumbled across this building, which is obviously the one that we're going to talk about, and kind of into the supported living sector, which was a whole new area for us. It was something that we, you know, never even considered before. So
I think that's really the interesting part about this story particularly is that you bought it to do as a straightforward commercial conversion, haven't you, Kath? Is that right?
Yeah, so originally we bought it, and the idea was, like I said, we rejigged the planning on it. I've got a little presentation I'll come on to show you what it was, but it was a social club that had planning on it for 6 2-bed flats, and we rejigged it into 9 1-beds. And our original plan was to sell probably 3 of them, the top 3, and keep the other 6 for private rentals. That was always all the way along what we were planning to do. But then obviously various other things happened, and we came across supported living. So for us, it's been a fantastic exit kind of strategy. So I'll kind of talk about, you know, what the average person, investor, developer type of thing, you know, does, and then to find supported living, what the kind of changes have been that we've had to do, A, to the building, but also kind of to get an exit strategy out of that. So that's what we've come on to. So shall I open my presentation up?
Yeah, if you want to, that would be great. You share that with us and see.
Right. Hopefully it doesn't all go a bit belly up, but hold on, I'll tell you when to share the screen. I'm just
you share the screen, so when you're
ready.
Oh,
do I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Go to share at the bottom.
It's gone technical now. Share screen, there we go. Right. Let's have a look. Get this up. Hold on 1 second. How's that?
That's great. Well done.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. Getting there. Technical things aren't my bag, so yeah, it's all a bit new. So it's now, like I said, 9 apartments, and it's in a place called Macclesfield. I don't know whether many people know the area. It's about 20 minutes outside of Manchester. It's got a train station, which actually this property is right next to, which is 20 minutes into Manchester, and about an hour and 40 down to London. So it's really good links, really good kind of area that we've had. So when we bought it, it was originally, well, I'll come on to it, before we bought it, it was a social club. So it was used for, I think there are snooker rooms in it, bar in it, you know, for functions. People would hire it for functions, that sort of thing. It's a fairly substantial sized building. This is the back end of it. And when it was first put on, so we kind of, it was a bit of a funny one really. It was it came up for auction in about January 2018. And we weren't ready at the time. I think we needed to kind of like buy it really, really quickly, and we weren't ready at the time to do that. So we went to have a look at it. It looked like a great property. It went obviously to auction and then sold on. So we didn't really think much more about it. But we, like I said, we were doing some properties in the area, so we kind of kept passing it, and there wasn't a huge amount going on with it or anything. And then it came back to, I'll just show you a couple of the insides of it. So this is when it went down. You can already smell the sort of beer stained carpet, can't you? It's like a bit hideous. But so yeah, so this was it. I think each of the floor sizes was about 150 square meters, so it's quite a substantial building. And it then came back to auction in June. It was going to go to auction in June 2019, so last year. And the agent gave us first dibs on it. So we went and had another look at it, and we were kind of like, well, it's a bit odd, you know, gone to auction, sold, come back on, what's happened? Because when we bought it, I'll come on to the slides later, it had been completely stripped out. So all that you've just seen had all gone. So that saved us a huge amount of money, and it had taken back to the bare shell, so you could actually see exactly what everything was like internally. And it turns out, anyway, the people that had originally bought it at auction had obviously overdone themselves and had bought a few other properties, and decided that this one wasn't one they were going to go forward with, so they needed to release some cash, so they just put it back onto auction. So we pretty much bought it for the same price they did, but they'd done about, probably I would say about 10 grand's worth of stripping out and stuff on it. So this was, yeah, so this is the plan of it as it was. On the back, so the side elevation bit, on the back, that's a fire escape that was there. And when it first came on, it was, when we bought it, it had plans for, like I said, 6 2-bed flats, which kind of, this was the layout of it. And they decided to knock off the back bit of the building where the fire escape bit was.
Just like the narrow bit.
Yeah, narrow bit at the back. And then that was the layout for the 6 2-beds. And when we looked at it and thought about the numbers on it, I mean, in terms of 2 beds in the area, you're probably looking at around 110, 115 a flat. Whereas 1 beds, you're looking at about 95 to 100. So we were thinking, well, if we can rejig this and get it to work for 9. So we spoke to a planning guy locally who said, yeah, you know, most of the hard work had already been done on the original, changing it from a social club to getting the plans through for the 6 2-beds. So he said, yeah, for sure, you know, you pretty much get the 9 1-beds through. So that was the kind of plan, to rejig it and get 9 1-beds in. And also when this was their plans as well. So, I mean, all these things are just really, they're not something that we would have done. You know, you're talking here about increasing the size of the windows, putting glass balustrades in, which, you know, it's like Macclesfield, not Monaco. So you're like, why are you doing this? And they'd taken off the fire exit bit off the back, which, to be honest, was, you know, why would you do that? It's just you're making you're making more money demolishing it, and you're losing space. So yeah, so we kind of went back and had a look at it, and this is our kind of back to the original, really. So all we did in terms of changes externally were just adding in 2 windows where there were doors round at the side elevation bit, but the rest of it, we've kept all the windows the same size, they were good size. The layout internally fitted where the windows fitted, if you see what I mean. So we didn't have to put too many extra extra windows in or anything, or increase the sizes of them, because it just seemed a bit of a crazy way of doing it. So this was what it was like when we bought it. So like I said, it was all stripped out and they'd completely gutted it. So that saved us a huge costing on it.
And some time as well.
And a lot of time, yeah, a lot of time. So we ended up keeping, so where the fire escape was at the back, we kept that included in our plans. So the guys that came in to do the kind of demolishing of that bit did that, and then took a load of the cabling out and all that sort of stuff. And actually it didn't cost us a huge amount because they ended up doing it for scrap and they got a lot of money. So and then we've got a lovely lift on the right hand side, which has been the kind of like bane of my life, this whole project, and I'll come on to that. But it was one of those things where when we first started it, we were like, should we keep the lift, shouldn't we? And because we were doing it, we thought at the time for, you know, the private rental market or for sale, although it's only 3 flights, we thought, well, we'll keep a lift in. It'd be quite, you know, a nice selling point for the people on the top floor and that sort of thing. So we ended up recommissioning that lift, but at the end of the day, we've just blocked it up. So that's one of the things I'll come back onto. So yeah, so this is our layout. So we've ended up really with 3 flats per floor. I would say the top floor is kind of the bigger layout. And, you know, you're looking at anything here between, I think it was around just about, I think the smallest one's about 38 meters squared. And then the larger ones at the top, they're about 50. So they're not too bad a size for, you know.
And all national space standards as well.
Yeah, exactly. So fairly simple layout, you know, open plan, kitchen, lounge, you know, bedroom, bathroom, that sort of thing. So yeah, so we just try to keep the costs down. Why would you knock off the extension at the back and lose that space when you can incorporate it into the whole, you know, a whole of the building? So
it's really isn't it, when you're looking at it with a plan with fresh eyes?
Yeah, it's sometimes really odd when you look at other people's plans and you think, why have they done that? Why have they done it that way? So the layout on the top was slightly different on the back flat, just because of the whole, you can't have it was an escape window at the back, so you can't, because you're on the top floor, you couldn't have the bedroom at the back and the kitchen in front of it, because you've got to get out in case of a fire sort of thing. Whereas the bottom 2 flats, you've got access out of the window fairly easily, so that's not too bad. So these are our original kind of building regs drawings. This is what the building regs guys did, and then these were sent to the fire department, because I'm sure you know on any sort of flat conversions, because of Grenfell and everything like that, they are so hot on, you know, making sure everything is above board as it should be. You know, I think they've brought it up now to such a level that, and also for the supported living, the care provider, they want it at a certain standard as well, and they're now fairly matched in terms of what's required in terms of fire regulations and all that sort of thing. So I wouldn't say we had to do a huge amount in terms of changing anything in, you know, for the kind of heat detectors, smoke detectors, that sort of thing. We had to do, like we had to do anyway, fireboarding out and that sort of thing. We've got double fireboarding in all the ceilings, so that's like an hour burn time. We've got on the second floor layout, there's a thing called an AOV on the stairwell. I don't know whether you've come across these before, but it's like an automatic opening vent. So basically what happens is if the smoke detectors go off and there's smoke in the building, especially if it's the top floor, it opens automatically and lets all the smoke out. So then it gives people ability to get down and out in case of any fire and stuff. So, and then you've got all the standard kind of fire doors in certain areas. We've got them in the communal area as well, in the stairwell area, all that sort of thing. I mean, it's kind of fairly, I don't know, I'd say it's fairly standard for bigger projects or even bigger HMOs now to have all most of these requirements.
So important, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, most of these requirements in. So timelines on what happened. So we bought the building back in when it finally went through, completed on it was September. Then we did some like structural site setup, that sort of thing, November, December time. And then, like I said, we put the revised planning through. As soon as we bought it, we put the revised planning through and got it through for the 9 one-bed flats. And funny enough, as soon as we did that, I got like 2 or 3 calls from, I don't even know who they were, but they were like, said they were kind of private care providers, and they said, oh, do you want to sell the building, or do you want to do the building to our spec and sell it on to us or whatever once you've done it? So that was my first, I think, ever kind of, oh, what's all this about? And then you kind of,
because they were one beds that they were.
yes, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. And so they were like, you know, would you sell it on, etc., etc. And because I hadn't looked at any of this kind of side of things, I was like, well, why would I do that? And, you know, it's going to be cheap, and, you know, they're not going to make any, we're not going to make any money out of it, and, you know, all that type of thing. So, so that was happening. So we started work on it, still with the whole thought, right, we'll sell the top 3 flats, we'll rent the rest of them, and that's what was happening. And then obviously the world goes a bit pear-shaped in March, doesn't it? And suddenly we're just like, oh my god, what are we going to do? You know, we've got 9 flats here that we either got to rent or we've got to sell. No one's actually even kind of moving out of, you know, being able to get out of their house, let alone look at places or anything like that. So so we had to look at a different exit plan really on this. And at the same time, so I met, well, I think I met you through like online through the Property Sisters networking side, and then also Sean, who you've interviewed here on as well, haven't you? So I met Sean, and I was talking to Sean about this, and then she was explaining a bit more about the supported living, and then you'd set up the Facebook page as well. So that was kind of finding out more information on stuff. And then, sorry, shut this door. Jim's just come back home, so I've just had to shut the door. So yeah, so I kind of started hearing more and more about supported living kind of through your Facebook page, talking to other people. And then when I was on your site, I think I put something on about the building or whatever, and saying, look, I've got this, and, you know, I'm not sure.
Deals thread, didn't you, Kath, I think, as a property, didn't you?
Yes, something like that. I can't remember. I was trying to work out how to get started on the whole supported living, and when you don't really know anything about it, it's like a complete minefield of who you talk to and how the process works and stuff. And I think the way you guys have, you know, set up the Gateway site, you know, to help people like me, developers who are completely naive to all this, to try and link them up with the care providers is just a brilliant way of, you know, getting, you know, working for both people, really, isn't it?
Because you were our first match, really, weren't you?
Yeah. So Russ Crabtree, who does the Gateway with you, he happened to, I was quite lucky because he happened to only live up the road from Macclesfield, from the site we were. So he said, oh, you know, I'll come and look at it. And then he came to look, we talked through, and he was telling me how things work and stuff. And then he had a few properties, and he had one of the care providers was trying to get into Cheshire East, which is this area. And it's their first kind of foray into Cheshireese. So yeah, so that's kind of how it developed. I mean, it was part kind of luck, part meeting people, part networking, but then meeting the right people that knew about all this sort of stuff. Because to be honest with you, I still even don't know what, you know, the care provider provides. Then you've got the registered provider, and then you've got this, that, and the other, and it's like, oh God. So yeah, so
understand the whole lot to you once, you know.
It's a real minefield. I think we got the care provider came end of April, and then the Cheshire East Commissioner came and approved it in May. Right. At the same time, Russ had linked us up with an RP as well, so we got them on board. And then through that, I'll go on to the sort of slight changes we've had to do, but we had to do some revisions on the specs. So from June, July, we were working on those kind of things. And then this month, we've kind of agreed the lease with them. We've kind of a mutual agreement for various things. So for us, that's great because they're going to take it on from October. We're pretty much near the end of doing what we've got to do. We've got, we've got all the final finishing bits coming up this month, and then it'll be September will be all the signing off all the certificates and everything else that you need.
How long are you looking at for? How long is the lease for, Kath?
It's 10 years with a 5-year break clause in. So yeah, it's a good. I'll come on to that. Yeah, it's a really good. It's like the exit strategy for us has just been brilliant, really, and probably better than what we would have got just developing it as a normal, a normal private rental or sale project. So. So I mean, what have we had to do differently? I mean, I've just put one of the things they asked kind of late in the day was a panic system through the building. So we're doing this for adults with learning disabilities and, autism, that sort of thing, mental health. So there will be some people that will there'll be situations where they'll need to be calmed down, or something will happen and it will kind of kick off or whatever. So the care provider asked us to put this panic system in, which kind of was to be put in all of the sort of living area, kitchen, lounge area, in the bedroom, the bathroom, and then obviously all the communal hallway. And I'm not sure whether, oh yeah, here it is. So it's called a Quintex system. This is what they requested. And this is the only thing that they've kind of stumped up the money for in terms of what they want. And so they said, look, we need to put this in. It's got to be hardwired, which was a slight problem because we were at kind of plaster painting stage at that point. So Jim was kind of starting to hyperventilate when I was telling him about this, and then we had to find the smallest electrician that we knew to kind of fit through all the floorboards to try and get all these hardwired things. Oh God, it was a nightmare. But so this is it. So it's on the ceilings. They have this kind of receiver thing, and the staff wear on the right hand side, they wear like a sensor thing on them. But all of the flats, like I said, the bedrooms, the living area, the bathrooms have like a panic button. So when they press it, it basically goes down to the basement area, which is where we've got the staff area and the control center, and that will light up and it will show exactly where people are in the building and where they need to go to if anything happens, sort of thing. So that was probably one of the biggest kind of bits that we've had to kind of put in, apart from the office area, but that was one of the biggest things. But they paid for that because because we wanted them to. We sort of said, well, this is a kind of over and above really what what it is, and it's something you want to put in, and it is kind of late stage. If you'd asked us maybe earlier on, it would have probably been a lot cheaper to put in. But I mean, it's probably one of the big things when you're working with supported living, is trying to get upfront as much information out of them of what their requirements are, especially if you're at studying out and you know, first fix stage. Then
when you do a big project like this, the earlier they're involved,
yes,
the earlier they're involved, that you know exactly the spec that's required, you can then build it into your
exactly. So yeah, so what else did we have to do? We had to put some extra smoke detectors in the bedrooms. Like I said, the lift was the issue, because we'd done it, and I think we spent about, I'd say about $7,000 on it, recommissioning it, redoing it. But then the people that did it, which was Stena, were kind of like, well, we're not 100% sure if it's going to work properly. And we're like, hold on a minute, we just spent $7,000. And they're like, no, well, you might have to spend a bit more, and da da da. So then we had the conversation with the care provider. We were like, look, you know, if you want us to do this, we'll spend the extra money and we'll put it in, but are you going to use it? And they were like, well, not sure if we're going to use it. If something happens with the staff go in and get stuck in it, or, you know, one of the tenants goes in and gets stuck in it, it could be an issue. Or if you've got someone maybe like who's got autism and decides at the bottom of the flat that they'll go up it 30 times during the day or something. So we were like, no, I think this is going to be a bit of an issue. And then when we came to do the lease, and talk about the lease, this was kind of the benefits of having Russ helping us along the way with this, because he was like, look, I'll talk to them about not putting it in because, you know, you don't want to maintain it. And we're like, no, we definitely don't want to maintain it throughout the lease.
Yeah, and having Russ has got so much experience with this and these.
Yeah, you know, he knows all about these sort of things, and, you know, he's obviously got the you know, the build side knowledge and project management knowledge and all that sort of thing. So he knows what's going to be expensive if you need to kind of keep on top of it. I mean, I've never done a lift before, so I would not know what the upkeep of something like this is. But if it goes wrong, it goes wrong, and it's an expensive kit to kind of get fixed again. So we ended up blocking it up, so which actually was a benefit, I think, to everyone. Kitchens, we've put induction hobs in. These are just safety things, you know, so no one's going to burn themselves or anything like that. Locks can be put on the cupboards, you know, where they're going to store, you know, bleach or anything like that. And then there's temperature setting for the boiler, so it's not too hot, so they can't scald themselves and stuff. I mean, our showers are all mixer tap showers anyway, so you're not going to have any problems there. It would just be something like the kitchen sink or the bathroom sink. You know, there's no baths or anything in any of these flats. So yeah, CCTV, again, CCTV was something that we wouldn't have probably put in doing it where we were going to do, but they wanted CCTV. It's a security thing for them. So we've got it on the 4 points of the building and on the front door. So the front door system, it's like an entry system where you know, press a buzzer, it goes down to the basement where the control room is, they can see who it is, and then either let them in, you know, and then buzz up to whatever flat it is to let them up there. So our biggest probably expense, which has been our expense, is the basement, and it's kind of like a control room, staff area. We've got like a kitchenette and a restroom down there. It's, the staff are going to be, they're not sleeping there. It's not like they're there, but they are there 24/7. So there will be kind of shift work and that sort of thing. So it needs to be comfortable for them. They've got to have, you know, kitchen facilities, you know, obviously toilet facilities and stuff. But it's also the area that is lockable. They'll have all of the control systems for the whole building coming in. Like I said, the CCTV, the panic systems, the internet going in there. Some of them will have to have medication in there that needs to be locked and that sort of thing. And for us to do that, it's been, you know, we wouldn't have done that down in there. It's about a 50 meter squared area that we've done this in. So, you know,
5.
Say that again.
Say 15 or 50.
50, yeah.
Okay, good size.
Yeah, it's a good size. I mean, we've got the utility area, utility stuff down there as well, but it's but then, you know, when we've come on to agree the lease and stuff, what we've got for the building has more than kind of paid for doing this type of work. And or because we've got the 9 flats, we could have given one of the flats over and made that into an office area, but then you lose that income from that one flat. So it was just kind of a weighing up what the cost was of doing it and what was our benefit, really. Yeah. Like I said, the front door system's slightly different. And then there's separate internet for the staff and the tenants. We put, and we've still got a Sky satellite dish and connections into all of the flats. So when the tenants go in, they can just plug in and put in a Sky box and they'll get everything through that. And then the basement office area there, they've got, in fact, Virgin Media are coming tomorrow to connect them up with a separate internet connection for them. I think it's just security reasons and stuff like that. So they want to be on separate lines and stuff. So yeah, I mean,
a lot of adaptation, you know.
Say that again.
Do you feel like it's quite a lot of adaptation that's happened?
Not really, no. I mean, the panic system, but we didn't have to pay for. The the basement area, we would never have done all that. But you know, like I said, it's a way up between getting that and getting more than market rent, getting a 10-year lease, getting a commercial evaluation on it, that sort of thing. It's kind of, you know, yeah, it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Yeah. So this is what kind of, you know, still finishing off, but this is where we're at really at the moment. There's all the new windows and everything in. So yeah, I mean, all the windows were triple glazed, but that was a requirement from when we were putting it in as flats anyway. So huge adaptations there. These are our flats. We've done these as we would, and we normally do, to a fairly high spec. And they're, you know, the flats you could quite easily rent out to professionals. Professional tenants. So, you know, I don't see any reason why the type of tenants that we've got going in don't deserve exactly the same type of spec. So we've always kind of aimed to try and do that. So on the left, you can see there's that sort of wiring coming out. That's where the panic button's going to go in for that bit there. And then on the right, you'll see some wiring hanging down from the ceiling. That's where the infrared sensor things are going to go on. So yeah, and we're also providing washing machines and under counter fridges for them as well. So the brand new, so I'll have all those. They're moving in. This was a couple of days ago, so it's still a bit all over the place, but this is the basement area. So you go down to the basement on the right, and then you come in, and then you've got a corridor, and then you've got one room, which is where the office area is going to be, which is the middle bit, and then go along the corridor a bit further down, and then you've got the kitchenette area and toilet area.
Did you have to go back to planning for this bit?
No, because it's a usable space. It's not a habitable space, as we said. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, if someone was living down there or sleeping down there or something like that, then it would probably be something that we'd have to. But because it's not. No. Because it's not. No. So I mean, this is all down in the basement area. I mean, 9 flats. You know, you've got 9 electric meters, you've got 9 water meters, you've got 9 gas meters, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's I don't know if anyone else has come across an easier way of dealing with utility connections and new connections. If they have, I'd love to hear from you. But
I feel like there's definitely a business there for someone to take it off you, you can outsource it to someone to sort.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I have looked into that. There are companies that will do that for you, but the price they charge just to
It's so time consuming, isn't it? It's really...
but it's also the fact that, so the electric, the connection coming in, we applied for that back in December, same with the gas. And so the electric went in about 3 weeks ago and the gas went in today. So, I mean, that's how fast they are in terms of, I mean, okay, we've had COVID and all that sort of thing, but really it's just amazes me how they get, and also you have to pay it all up front. So you pay it all up front and then they don't turn up for like 4 months later. So yeah. And so the smoke system, fire alarm system, so you know we have to get the fire assessment done and everything, so that's just, you know, part of the building anyway. So in terms of differences on exit, I mean, like I said, we've got a lease agreement. It's 10 years, 5-year break clause, and our rent is just under 81,000 a year. So that kind of works out to just under 750 a flat a month.
And what would market be?
Well, market rents for a 1-bed, you're looking probably about 575.
So it's well above on that.
It's well above. It is well above. Like I said, you know, we have had to put more money into it and things. So, but I think when people start looking at some of the figures with supporting living in terms of, you know, on a very selfish basis, in terms of a purely investment and development type, the numbers do come up well. So yeah.
They do, because you've got the no voids, the no maintenance.
Yeah, there's no voids, no maintenance, less maintenance. It depends what you agree, obviously, in your lease. Sometimes you can get, you know, them to agree that the building, the insurance of the whole building is recharged back to them, that sort of thing. So there's loads of savings on it. You know, in the current market, if we were selling or even if we were renting, I think it was selling. I mean, I know we've had this conversation before that the market's slightly booming at the moment, but that's, I don't know whether it's a kind of a bit of a false economy or what. I mean, so we don't know where things are going to go really in the next sort of 3 to 6 months. And I was kind of nervous back in March trying to sell, you know, a number of flats. So yeah, so I kind of think that the way we've gone with this has really kind of benefited us as developers and stuff. So, and then, you know, we're not renting like normal rents where you've got, you know, your letting agent and you've got to pay him your agent fee at around, well, I know 8-10%. So we're saving a huge amount there a month. And then for us also, one of the big things is refinancing the money out, and this will be looked at on a commercial yield rather than a bricks and mortar valuation. So we're aiming, you know, these figures are all still up in the air because we haven't done the final valuation on it, but we're aiming for around the 1.1 to 1.1 million on the revaluation on it. So yeah, but then, you know, there are certain things, you know, your commercial mortgage rates are higher. We're looking at around about 5% for it. And the loan to values can be less. You get 65 to 70%. So you're never probably on a supported living deal going to get that, you know, enigma of no money left in the deal, because, you know, I think that's very few far between these days with a lot of projects anyway. If you can get quite a lot of your money back out, then you're doing well. And also a huge benefit of supported living is it's SAS compliant. So, you know, I think you can't hold a residential property in your SAS, but you could hold supported living property because it's not classed as a residential property. It's classed on like a commercial lease sort of thing.
And this is a SAS pension, isn't it, for people who aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so it's like a SAS pension. So, you know, it's people that are using their, you know, taking money from their pension pots and are using it, you know, themselves as an, you know, investment type. So yeah, for us, it, you know, we had a guy that's part of the renovation was done with a third-party loan from SAS, the SAS pension. And then we'll see what happens when we get the revaluation done, what money we can pull out. Do we look for another SAS kind of investor just to, you know, top up and leave some money in? They're getting, you know, 7-8% a year back. So, you know, it's a kind of no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, that's it. So that's what we did, and that's our kind of how we've done it. I mean, I'd highly recommend looking at supported living, and obviously you guys are doing the gateway system, so there's going to be a lot more opportunity, isn't there, of linking up developers with the right care providers in the right area. So there's a lot of benefits. There is a lot of benefits.
I'm just going to stop the screen sharing for a moment.
Yes, go ahead.
Stop sharing. There we go. Then we're back in the room. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's very much proven that the gateway helps and can help you to understand and navigate that system, really, which is. I
think it is, because I would never be where I am now if I hadn't had, you know, that kind of help along the way, because, you know, I knew nothing about this sort of this way of developing property. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Brilliant. I'm really glad. I don't know if anyone's we've got a few people watching. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. If they have for Kath, just pop them into the comments below. But I don't think we've got any questions so far. But obviously we kind of had that stop start at the beginning.
Yeah. Anyway, any questions, just, you know, you can always connect with me on Facebook and just ask me anything to do with.
I think the thing that really strikes me is that you were originally going to sell at least 3 of those flats, weren't you, as your exit?
Yeah.
The rest. So you've ended up with the supported living exit. It's enabled you actually to hold that whole block, which for a long-term financial point of view, obviously will benefit. You know.
Well, exactly, and you know, the Macclesfield area where we're looking at, you know, they've invested quite a bit in the area, and I think, you know, the values of the properties will also be increasing. So yeah, it's a good long term.
And that's always something you need to consider, isn't it, when you're looking at supported living? Is that exit? Is that okay? So at the end of those 10 years, if the chances are the providers will renew the lease and you'll get a really long term investment. But if they were to change their mind, whatever, you know, the who knows where we could be in 10 years time in changes in society.
Exactly. And you know, government changes, whatever, you know, things all could change. So, you know, I think it would be very difficult for, especially a building this size. And it's different if you've got a smaller property and you've adapted it specifically for someone's needs. But if you've got a building or a block like this, then, you know, you make certain adaptations, but you always have to have in the back of your mind that, you know, it has to be available back on the market as a normal property in the future or whatever.
And yours very much will do that, won't it? You know,
yeah.
You know, as a really good standard private if you needed to in the future.
I'm reckoning those panic buttons, you know, if they go back to private rental, someone could press it and someone down in the basement could be bringing up, you know, a butler service or something like that.
Whole new level of private rental.
The concierge is down in the basement.
Well, there are some places that have concierge services, aren't they? You know, yeah, absolutely. They say it's coming.
So,
thank you ever so much, Kath. It's been really brilliant.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about the start of that. And we've lost loads of people, but never mind.
With it's all available. You know, it'll stay in the group, and we'll stream it to YouTube, to the Pebble.
Yeah, like I said, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to just shout me up on Facebook or whatever.
That's perfect. I'm going to stop the streaming. Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.